This exercise now is teaching how to keep the transverse abdominis, or the core, engaged while moving your leg. So this is important. We need to know how to use our core while we're using our body. So it's one thing to practice your core strength using floor-based exercises, but we should need to keep our core engaged when we're doing our sports, when we're running, when we're cycling, when we're just walking around. If we learn to do that, then more than likely then we will have our core engaged while we're exercising, and we can help reduce the rate of injury. So to engage the core then, we talk about trying to draw in this part of the stomach here, so trying to draw in the transverse abdominis. So that is, how you do that is, you imagine you're drawing your tummy like you're tightening a belt. So if you have your belt and you want to tighten it and not too tight, or you can just take the two ends of your trousers and get them to meet in the middle. And the way you draw your tummy in, away from your belt or your trousers when you do that, is the motion that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for an motion where you inhale and you draw into your upper tummy. That's not what I'm looking for. Nor am I looking for where you kind of brace out. So it's like you're trying to push or bear down and your stomach braces out. That's not the motion I'm looking for. So with this motion, we're trying to look where you draw in your stomach, like trying to tighten the belt and hold that contraction there. So to turn this into an exercise then, when we're standing, I'm going to transfer all my weight over onto my left leg and try and keep my core engaged while I balance on my left leg. Now if I find it hard to balance, I can hold on to a wall. But the focus of this exercise is about core strength rather than balance. So what I'm going to try and do is try and keep the core engaged here. Feel the tension in my fingers, that my stomach is kind of drawn inwards. It should kind of look relatively flat. If you had your six-pack engaged, you'd be bracing here. You wouldn't really have a flatness in your stomach. You'd feel tension, right, but it domes outwards. When you engage your core, it flattens here and it sucks in a bit. So what you want to see then is that you can keep that core engaged as you bring the knee up to the chest and the knee back down. So I'm really focusing, kind of keep my stomach in as I do that, and out behind me, and then back up and out behind me. And I'll do a few repetitions of that, trying to keep that core engaged. Now, if I have problems or find just pain with moving my knee up and down, I can always just make circles as well, and just trying to keep my core engaged as I bring my leg into circles. So then we'll transfer the weight to the other side. So I'm going to stand on my right leg now, keep this core engaged, so drawing in my core like I'm tightening a belt, and seeing, can I keep this engaged as I bring up my knee up and down. So if I feel it go, I just re-engage and continue the exercise again. If you find that you can only keep the core engaged, kind of put a small movement of the knee, then practice that, just work on that for a while. And as you get stronger, then you'll find you'll be able to bring your knee a little bit higher while keeping the core engaged. You may also notice that there's strength difference between left and right. So you might find that using the right side feels easier than when you do it on the left. That's fine. We'll just work on the side that feels a little bit weaker, a little bit more, and trying to build up that balance. Often there can be imbalances seen in people. So that's the exercise, how to engage your core. What we're looking for when you're engaging your core throughout the day with that exercise is making sure that you don't take it too far and you go into a posterior pelvic tilt. So what do I mean by that? Most of us are in an anterior tilt, where there's a little bit of arch in our back, our pelvis is tilted forward like this. Ideally we should be in a neutral posture. And so when you engage the core, you'll find that your pelvis tucks over and there's kind of a little small curve in the back, not too excessive, but your pelvis is kind of level. It's not tilted forward and it's not tilted back. If we engage our core too much all the time, far too much, then we'll go into a posterior pelvic tilt, which we don't want either. So really the word is warning is just engage your core enough to get you into a neutral pelvis, and that is enough. That's all we want. We don't want you to engage too much to go into that posterior pelvic tilt. That is not really such an issue when your core is weak, but if you find you've got a good strong core, then you want to make sure you're working when your pelvis is in neutral. But at the moment, if your core is weak, you may only know what's kind of core switched on, core switched off. At that point, just work on what you know, and then eventually when you find you can switch your core on a little bit and not, then we work into having a neutral posture, or neutral pelvis as we move the leg. So not an anterior tilt as you move, not a posterior tilt as the leg goes up and down, but what's called a neutral pelvis.